Well, welcome to the Unstoppable Freedom Podcast. I'm Jimmy Page. Well, the open southern border, and yes, indeed, it is open, has created a threat to American sovereignty and a humanitarian crisis that we haven't seen in our history. It's been referred to by many as an invasion, and with visitors, or if you would call them illegals, coming from over 160 countries, I think you could accurately say this is an invasion. And our open border policy is part of an intentional dismantling of America and all Western societies, including our values and our culture. And our unwillingness to secure this border has created a superhighway for lethal drugs, violent crime, human trafficking, especially of children, and most recently, the influx of Chinese foreign nationals of military age. The transport of undocumented illegal migrants to cities around the country is creating a crisis of poverty, homelessness, and the destruction of our way of life. Well, for 3 years, this administration said there was no crisis. There was no crisis at the border and that it was secure. In other words, they lied. And they demonized anyone who dared to speak against it by calling them racist, conspiracy theorists, you name it. Well, now, in an election year, of course, they're claiming it's been a crisis all along, and it's Trump's fault. Very interesting. Let's blame everything on 45. You literally can't make this crap up. Well, that's why I'm excited to have JJ Carrell as our guest today, because he's an expert on the border, and you're going to hear from him in a powerful way, and he's going to help us see the truth of what's happening. Let me tell you a little bit about JJ. We've had him on as a guest. It's actually one of our most downloaded podcasts in history. He recently retired from the United States Border Patrol after a 24-year career as a deputy patrol agent in charge. He brings eyewitness in the trenches perspective of what's going on. And he outlines a number of solutions in his book called Invaded, the Intentional Destruction of the American Immigration System. Well, Carroll's about to release a new documentary called What is Treason? And we're excited to have him on the show. JJ, welcome to the program.
Oh, thanks for having me back, Jimmy. I appreciate it. We have to talk about some uncomfortable topics that I obviously I don't find any joy in, but just so your audience understands that the journey that I've been on, I believe without a shadow of a doubt, our government is the enemy.
Yes, no question.
Without a doubt.
Well, it's interesting because you're a reluctant participant in this battle for freedom, right? I mean, you've spent your entire career working to protect America, protect American citizens against what I would consider an invasion at our southern border. You've been a Border Patrol agent. You've been there firsthand. Tell us a little bit about, before we get into the new documentary, which I can't wait to talk about, talk a little bit about what you saw before you retired and then what you saw in the days following the change in administration, and then we'll talk a little bit about where we're at today. Tell us a little about your experience.
No, I think that's a great way to start, because you have to have some context, right? Because when you are in the middle of chaos and disorder and lawlessness, you think it's always been this way, right? Inner city crime, all that. Oh, it's always been that way. No, it has never always been that way. Fatherlessness, epidemic in America. Well, it's always been. No, it's never been this way. This is the culmination of societal decay at the hands of the Democrats and the complicity of the Republicans. So when you go back, so my last year in the United States Border Patrol as a deputy patrol agent in charge was President Biden's first year. So in office. So I saw exactly what's going to happen. I saw it. If I'm honest, would I have been able to anticipate the level of treason? No, I could never, in my wildest dreams, wrap my brain around how much those people hate America. Okay, so when I say they hate America, our government is the enemy, they're tyrannical, I'm not saying that just some guy I watch a couple news channels and that's just what I feel. This is deeply embedded in my soul because I have lived it for 24 years, and the last year and a half, 2 years of writing a book and doing a documentary, I am absolutely 100% sure that our federal government is purposely destroying America. What did the border look like?
And before that, right? So, and I agree with you, and that's what's so troubling. You know, we talk about really not having any representation anymore. It doesn't mean there aren't a few good people who are elected officials, but by and large, we have one single party and we've got two wings of the same bird. So we've got this policy that's destroying us. But I remember you telling me about what the border was like in the last 3 or 4 years before Biden came in. Tell us a little bit about what that was like.
Because I think this is an excellent question. This is the context. We, the United States Border Patrol, were always underfunded, undermanned, and then we were always undercut by the politicians. Republican, Democrat, didn't matter. All that changed under one man, Donald Trump. You don't have to like him. I'm a big MAGA supporter. The best border president in the history of the United States of America. Hands down. Let me tell you what it looks like number-wise, okay? The first 2 years was abomination because his own party sabotaged him. Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell, scumbags, both of them. And why I'm so adamant about them, because I watched my brothers and sisters get hurt on the border because we didn't have a border wall. I watched my Border Patrol agents kill themselves, have an epidemic in suicides because they feel so betrayed. Unreal. But at the end of Trump's term, he brought all of the Central American countries and Mexico, made them kneel before him. We stopped all the caravans, and we were arresting 500 to 600 people a day across the freaking United States, northern border, southern border, and both coasts. And every single one of those people were deported. Deported back to Venezuela, Yemen, all the countries that said, we're not taking them back. Trump said, oh, yeah, you are. And if you don't, I'm taking all of your foreign aid. Okay, yes, sir. We'll take them back. So everyone was being deported. ICE was rounding up hundreds of thousands of people and deport them. That's what it was like in the United States Border Patrol. Morale was at the height of, I've never seen it. We were on a winning team. We finally had somebody that had our back. We were winning because of one man. Day one of Joe Biden, we went from 500 to 600 people to 5,000 to 6,000 a day. Jeez. 5,000 to 6,000 to over 20,000 a day has crossed the border every single day of this man's presidency. That is what we're talking about, the difference. Now, did that happen because of bad policy and Joe Biden is mentally ill and dementia? No. You have to understand. Well, you don't have to understand. You don't have to agree with anything I'm saying. This is what I know is the truth. You had to have had the largest, most powerful people in America meeting and making strategic, purposeful, and intentional decisions on how they're going to destroy America. And they made the decision that immigration and allowing millions, tens of millions of illegal aliens into America will be the vehicle they use to destroy America. How do I know that? I'm not just making this up, because on day one of Joe Biden's first day in office, he signed 94 executive orders eradicating everything that was working on the southern border. Everything. It's amazing. Let me tell you, let me just give you two examples of how it's 94 examples, but let me give you two that are powerful. One executive order, stop construction of the wall immediately. No more construction. Two, Donald Trump put moratorium bans on certain nations that harbor terrorists and have terrorists, and there are like 25 of them. Let me just give you a sampling. Iran, Iraq, Sudan, Yemen, Syria, Afghanistan. I can go on and on and on. He writes an executive order allowing all of them to come into America. Why would you do something like that times 94 times to destroy the most secure border in America? History. Right. Well, the only explanation is you want to destroy America. And I challenge anyone in your audience, if you don't like what I say for the next hour and what my conclusions are, fine. This is America. You're allowed to disagree. All I ask you is, then tell me what the hell's going on. Just tell me. I want to hear an intelligent rebuttal to me.
Right. A coherent argument. You can't get in a conversation about this, because what happens is, and I would say that you and I probably both agree, we're wildly in favor of legal immigration. We want people to come here who want the opportunity to leave their situation to make a better life for them, especially to flee political persecution, which is kind of funny today since we're persecuting political opponents as we speak. So it's kind of funny that they would come here. But we want legal immigration. In fact, this country is founded on legal immigration. What we don't want is open borders. But here's why this becomes interesting. You just said, can you make a coherent argument for open borders where we don't vet anybody, we don't know who anybody is, we release them throughout the country. In fact, now we're busing them, flying them to cities around the country. So now we have this invasion at the southern border is now infected the entire nation.
Mm-hmm.
This is citizen versus non-citizen. Everyone who wants to close the border is called a racist, a bigot. But we're a nation of citizens, not immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
We're a nation of citizens, and we want all the people. We want as many as we can handle of the people that want to come here and assimilate into American culture, taking on our values and what we stand for, which means God-given rights. It means individual freedoms. It means the protection of those things. What we don't want is people from cultures that hate America and that want to destroy us. Isn't that what we're getting across the border right now?
That's all you're getting. And you made a very clear distinction. And this is something, it's almost as if I have to articulate this out loud every time, is this is not, these are two different animals. Legal immigration, that's something we could talk about, right? Do we have more of it, the same, less of it, whatever, right? Some of the greatest patriots in America are naturalized citizens. Why? Because they came from crap hole nations and they come to a nation that has law and order and opportunity, and they love it. We're not talking about that. We're talking about illegal immigration. It's illegal against the law. And what you're asking, so let's look at, you got to look at the numbers. Under Joe Biden, not talking about the getaways, okay? That's 15 to 18 million getaways. Let's just talk about what they claim, 12 million. At the end of Joe Biden's term, 11.5 to 12 million illegal aliens will have crossed the border. He will have released 95 to 97% of all of them. All of them. So effectually, 11.5 million to 12 million. Inside that group, you have 250,000 special interest aliens, meaning terrorists, have been arrested and released. You have 210,000 Chinese nationals. With my sources are saying they have already identified over 120,000 PLA soldiers inside of our walls. You have over 1 million Venezuelans. You have over 1 million Haitians. You have 60 to 70% of every single person that's in our country out of the 12 million are single adult military age men from the continent of Africa, the Middle East. Okay.
Listen, we need to sit on this for a second, because I don't think people listen. Whenever this comes up with my liberal friends, I don't have many, but they're a handful. They'll say, well, yeah, but these are families and they're seeking a better way of life, blah, blah, blah.
That's a lie.
And I'm like, no, they're not. It's a lie. It's nonsense. These are military age men from nations that hate us. And my question is this: who is funding this? Because these are people, they're not coming from Mexico, which, by the way, we have millions of Mexicans who have migrated here legally, and they are amazing Americans. So that's not what this is. This is from people from countries. I've heard my sources tell me that other countries like Venezuela are emptying their prisons and paying for those people to come to America. Is that happening?
All of those jails across those countries have been emptied in insane asylums. Let me give you a data point, just because I love to means test. Venezuela has opened their prisons and their insane asylums, so has Haiti, and dumped them into America. Venezuela came out 6 months ago and said, we have the lowest murder rate that we've had in the last 22 years. Well, why is that?
Of course.
Because you sent them all to America. Can I just go down a litany? Do you want me to go down a litany of Venezuelans that have murdered and raped Americans just in the last week? Yeah. Last week, I can name 5 right off the top of my head, right?
Yeah.
We're looking at taking in the worst of the worst. And
right. Which, by the way, our immigration system should be based on merit. It shouldn't be based on the worst of the worst. We don't want your criminals. You need to deal with your criminals. We don't want those people here. In fact, now I think we're on the tip of the iceberg, JJ. I think what we're seeing with the rapes, the murders of our young females, young girls in this country, I think we're at the very tip of the iceberg of this. We've got millions of criminal, illegal immigrants in this nation. Is that going to be what we experience in the run up to the election, that this becomes a bigger and bigger and bigger problem?
This will turn into, you're going to see rapes and murders that you've never seen. Look, I don't have to theorize. I don't have to come with theoretical. Look at Sweden. Sweden brought in all military age adult men from the continent of Africa and Middle East. They have what they're terming a rape epidemic. A rape epidemic. We're having a rape epidemic and a murder epidemic in America right now. But you know why we're having it? It's because we remain silent. The average American man remains silent. And I want to ask a question. I want to ask a question that I saw a German woman ask. I saw a Swedish woman ask. And the American women are going to ask us, you know what the question is? Where are the men?
Yeah.
God built you to protect women and children, but you're so gutless. You're so afraid of being canceled, called a racist, or whatever crap that people want to hurl at you. But you would rather your citizens be raped and strangled. Look at the poor little girl in Houston, 12 years old, beautiful little curly hair, braces, innocent, strangled to death, left in a ditch in Houston by 2 illegal aliens. An Ecuadorian in New York tied a 14-year-old boy and a 13-year-old girl in the woods in broad daylight in New York City, raped her and filmed it and uploaded it. A woman, a mother, 5 children in Maryland this week gets raped and killed. Raped and killed. I just named 3, 4 just on top of my head, man. This is happening across America. But we have gutless men.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think in fairness, I think a lot of people don't know what to do about it. They feel like this is such a massive problem. And when you realize it's your own government who is providing the entry point and then busing them, flying them all around the country into our communities, then you do feel a little overwhelmed by this. You said something that struck me last time we talked. You said that our open border is a superhighway. You use that exact term, superhighway, for human trafficking, for drugs, of course, and for violent crime. And now, of course, we're seeing the fruit of that, right? We're seeing this violence everywhere. And we always used to say, listen, protect yourself, be prepared. And now we have people in our community that no one knows, and they're everywhere. Denver alone, I'll talk about Denver, because it's not one of the worst cities. In fact, Denver was one of the safest cities up until the last 5 or 6 years. Denver has imported the most per capita, the most illegal immigrants into its city, almost 50,000 people, which is by far the most per capita. And our city now is experiencing an explosion of crime, an explosion of poverty, an explosion of violence, and homelessness. We've got tent cities in Denver now. It's destroying one of our most beautiful cities in this country.
Well, Denver just last year had 20,000 hospital visits by illegal aliens, bringing your hospitals to their knees. 20,000, long-term, short-term, emergency, whatever. Your mayor is trying to ship out people openly, ship them into America like it's America's problem. No, sir, you're a sanctuary city. Now you eat that sandwich and you like it.
That's right.
You did it.
Yeah.
Now look,
there's two things. That crime now is spreading into the cities outside of Denver. Now, I mean, it's launching all of this crime throughout, and they say they're a sanctuary city. Now they don't know how to handle it. And I know you've mentioned this in your documentary, that we're now diverting resources from American citizens, especially, and this always disproportionately harms people who are poor. Always. It almost always disproportionately harms minority communities. And now those communities have had enough. But we're diverting all these resources that they would normally get, and we're giving it to illegal immigrants.
Well, that's a great point. And in my documentary, thisistreason.com, just go there, please. Support us. I decided right off the bat, after we go to San Diego and see San Diego, we're going to go to Chicago, because Chicago is ground zero for the explosion that's going to happen. And I was absolutely 100% correct, because you are right. The black community, the inner city black community, is being devastated. And how are they being devastated? How do I know this? Well, I didn't go talk to a bunch of lily white politicians, right? I went down and I talked to gang members, pastors, mega church pastors, businessmen, politicians, and gang members, people that just came out of prison for murder for 21, 26 years. And they all told me the same thing. We are going to war. And I'm like, okay, what does war mean? Well, that means we're going to do whatever we have to do to kill our enemy. And I'm like, holy smokes. Okay, who's the enemy? All the illegal aliens, but in particular the Venezuelans. All the Venezuelans are coming to Chicago. Chicago has diverted $3 billion, that's with a B, $3 billion to illegal aliens and giving nothing to those communities. They have attached $9,000 rent checks to illegal aliens. So now in the inner cities, look, when you drive down the inner cities, that ain't America, brother. That's another country. I don't know what it is. 1 out of every 4 homes is dilapidated and shuttered. The other 3 look like a bulldozer needs to come and take them down. Well, they're kicking the blacks out, the black residents out of their communities, because why are you going to rent to Tyrone Mohammed, who I interviewed, 21 years in prison for murder, making great strides in his community. Why would I rent to Tyrone Mohammed for $1,200 a month and he's struggling to pay it when I can get a resident check from the state for $9,000 every single month? And they're going to live in squalor because they came from a nation of squalor. They're not going to complain. So you're moving black residents out. Where are they going to go? And they told me, I'm not going anywhere. We're going to fight. Listen, this is not my term, war. My term is, I'm getting told by, you can go on my, this is treason.com and look at the videos that we've already posted. Mm-hmm. You have black pastors, mega black pastors that are highly intelligent saying, you are one rape and one murder from a Venezuelan to a black resident and the whole city is going to explode. How do I know it's going to explode? Well, while I was there, the DNC comes out and says, well, we're thinking of not having our convention in Chicago. We're kind of rethinking it. Well, why are you rethinking it? Because you know your city's about to explode. Let me give your audience an idea of how they divert funds, okay? Just so you have an idea. You come off a major interstate, and there's tents. Tents. Disgusting.
Yes.
Filthy, rat-infested. I walked amongst it. My clothes reeked of urine and feces. That's what American citizens were living. 200 yards away, Jimmy, there is a transit center. I want you to think of giant, beautiful white wedding tents, 5 of them, giant. This is where all the illegals come from the buses and the planes and come there and get fed, clothed, medicated, and then given where they're going to go live. I want you to understand this is not just listen. This is just an example.
This is happening in Chicago. This
right
is
now.
Chicago?
It's been happening for over a year, Jimmy. Outside of this transit area, guess what they have on the street? 5 city buses, gleaming city buses that sit there and they idle for 24 hours a day. Why are they there, Jimmy? Because the illegal aliens need to be warmed. They're called warming buses. So during the winter, when our brothers and sisters are freezing to death in Chicago, let me give you an example. I'm just going to tell you a story.
So nobody knows about this. Real quick. Okay. Nobody knows about this.
Let me tell you this story. Let me tell you this story because it brings it all together. 200 yards away, Jimmy, is the homeless encampments. And a black gentleman's telling me, listen, I'm not on drugs. I'm just homeless. I'm having a bad time. But listen what they're doing to us. In the winter, me and my friends, our fingers and our toes were getting frostbitten. So we put blankets on, and the wind is whipping, it's freezing below zero. We walk 200 yards down to the warming buses. And inside the warming buses are illegal aliens, warm, eating freshly cooked meals prepared for them. And we're freezing to death, and we're knocking on the door of the bus, and the bus driver says, no, only migrants only.
I just can't.
You go not even a quarter mile away from that homeless shelter, and guess what they built? They took a club called the Standard Club, poured tens of millions of dollars into it, changed this giant building in downtown Chicago to hold 1,200 single adult military-age men, mostly from Venezuela, and they live there. I walked into the lobby. I couldn't get past the lobby for 2 reasons. One, there's a secured armed guard with a metal detector. And they said, you can't be here. And I'm like, whoa. I thought this was a hotel. No, get out. I was accosted. The cops were called on me. I'm a U.S. citizen paying for this, and I can't even look in the lobby? Nope.
Wow.
All illegal aliens, all of them.
Amazing.
We are crapping on our citizens and giving all of the money to illegal aliens. Okay, let me just hit one more data point so you understand the enormity of this. Joe Biden's numbers, not my numbers, Joe Biden's. Conservatively, on the bottom end, at the end of his 4 years, it will cost the United States of America $700 billion. At the high end, people believe it's already eclipsed $1 trillion. Are you telling me, you live in Colorado, are you telling me you couldn't use a part of that $1 trillion to better your city and your state?
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
I'm in New York City, dude. I'm in New York City filming. 50% of the hotels are contracted for illegal aliens. 50%. Let me tell you a quick story just so you understand the enormity of it. My business partner, Ryan Matt, and I get off the plane, land in New York, And we go, let's go dump all of our stuff at an Airbnb, and then we'll start filming, because we film nonstop, hour after hour after hour. He punches in the coordinates. I drive us there, and we get out, and we're like, what is this place? It was no signage, no nothing. Bikes piled up with strollers, people meandering around. And we walk in, and we go, right where we walk into the lobby, a security guard pops up, and we're like, whoa, where'd you come from? You can't come in here. Well, sir, we have Airbnb. No, you can't. And my partner starts to disagree with him, like, hey, no. And I start looking around, and I look right at the security guard, and I go, this is a migrant shelter, isn't it? Yes, it is. My business partner put in the wrong digit. Our Airbnb was 1 block away. Illegal alien holding facilities are all over New York City, all over America. And listen, New York City isn't standing by. Do you know what they have they have a couple of these offices. You know what the offices are called? Reticketing offices. They want you to leave. If you sign a document saying you'll never come back to New York City again, they'll fly you anywhere in the world. Not America, in the world. Just don't ever come back. Billions of dollars. New York City is down $4 to $5 billion. The state of New York is down $12 billion.
Jeez.
And crime in New York is skyrocketed. Prostitution is off the chart, Jimmy. Off the chart. They're trying to make it legal. And you go down and you walk down Queens, and you walk down the open air brothels. Open air. And guess what they have, Jimmy? Underage children. Underage prostitution. And they do nothing. And why are they there? Because those women are all illegal, and those kids are all illegal, and they're paying off their smuggling fees. This is what I'm going to show in my documentary, Jimmy. I'm going to take the camera.
Listen, that's why this is so important, because the average citizens do not know. They don't know the breadth of what's happening. They don't know the destruction of our major cities. They're just not paying attention because, of course, the media is in lockstep with our politicians, which is lockstep with corporate America. So all three are controlling the narrative of what we see and don't see. That's why you have to go to alternative sources to actually find out the reality. And here we have a city. Well, wow, I hate to cut this off in the middle of the conversation with JJ Carrell about the illegal immigration crisis that we're facing in America, but we've got to do it. We're going to pause here, and we're going to come back with part 2 in this 2-part series with JJ Carrell on the border crisis. See you next time.